Hello everyone, I'm back, and I've returned to my movie reviews to review Doctor Strange, directed by Scott Derrickson. And what can I say about the Marvel Cinematic Universe? It looks like it's never going to stop being amazing. And when it comes to Doctor Strange, the Marvel's signature brand of action, humor, and incredible world building has come again. And 14 movies in, and there hasn't been one that I've hated. But let's get to the story, shall we? The story for this film revolves around Dr. Stephen Strange, played by Benedict Cumberbatch. He's an accomplished neurosurgeon who, after a car accident, he loses the use of his hands. After traditional medicine doesn't work when it comes to him regaining the use of his hands, he heads out to Nepal, where he finds a society of magic-using monks led by the Ancient One, played by Tilda Swinton. She offers to teach him the ways of the mystic arts after he sees that as the only way to get his hands back. What he doesn't know is that the Ancient One and all the other monks are in a war of magic against a sorcerer named Caecilius, played by Mads Mikkelsen. And it's up to Dr. Stephen Strange to become a Sorcerer Supreme to stop Caecilius from doing things that are spoiler territory, so I'll just stop with the plot summary right now and get to what I liked about the movie. First of all, what you heard from the critics is true. The visuals in the film are absolutely stunning. It actually feels a bit like an acid trip when it comes to many of the sequences involving the mystic arts, because a lot of them are highly colorful, highly creative, and a lot of the worlds really do make me think that whoever came up with this either has a humongous amount of imagination or they drew heavy inspiration from Dali paintings, Andy Warhol drawings, or the original comic art of the 1960s Doctor Strange comics. I haven't read a ton of them, but they definitely have interesting designs when it comes to the environments. Speaking of the environments in the film constantly shift and change as these magical beings duke it out. And seeing these images in this film with such high detail really is amazing. It's one of those films that you need to see in 3D to get the full experience. But visuals can only work if the story itself is interesting. And is the story interesting? Yes it is. Mainly because, unlike a lot of these superhero movies that focus on the Avengers and and science and Norse mythology, this one focuses on mystical arts. Marvel does a really good job of finding new angles to these superhero movies. No two films are the same, in my opinion, unless they're sequels to the solo films. Iron Man's films are all about science. The Thor films are all about Norse mythology. Captain America's films are all about war films or spy thrillers. And in Doctor Strange's case, it's mystical arts in a fashion similar to Avatar: The Last Airbender or Legend of Korra. Heck, Stephen's initial personality sort of reminds me of Season 1 Korra, and the Ancient One, played by Tilda Swinton, sort of reminds me of the airbending master Jinora. Maybe it's just the shaved head, who knows. Speaking of which, the characters are very well handled. Stephen Strange is is the typical arrogant protagonist because of his success in his neurosurgery field, but he gets better over time, and he really does develop into a very competent magic user and a great hero. The Ancient One does a great job with her role as the mentor, and I think even though it's a controversial casting decision, Tilda Swinton really makes the role her own, and really she makes the whole wise master thing seem more similar to, like I said, Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra, more than other sources might specify. Most of the monks in the film aren't given a lot of character, but two specifically, Mordo, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, and Wong, played by Benedict Wong, what a coinkydink. Those two characters are surprisingly very interesting, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of Wong and Mordo if Doctor Strange gets a sequel. And considering the end credits scene, it's more than likely this film will get a sequel, especially since it's doing so darn well. There are flaws, however, in the film, despite the fact that the characters, the story, and the visuals are absolutely incredible. One of the biggest flaws of the film is that the fact that Rachel McAdams' character is only used sparingly. I mean, she's basically used as a half-hearted love interest for Stephen Strange, and she does help out a couple of times when it comes to some sticky scenarios, which I will not spoil here, but there's not a lot to Rachel McAdams' character, and she's given a screen time that isn't enough for her to really make an impact. It almost feels like the director wanted to make her like the Pepper Potts to Stephen Strange's Tony Stark in that respect. But unless there's a sequel where Rachel McAdams is given more character development, she's not really there yet. Also, the main villain, played by Mads Mikkelsen, really is not very interesting. Marvel's big problem with a lot of these movies is that their main villains are not very interesting. And Caecilius, even though he has a cool design, he's about as uninteresting as the villains of the Thor films minus Loki. He's around the same level as Malekith, in my opinion. That's not a good sign. But those really were the only two flaws I could see that I could initially overlook. The only other flaw that I have is that there's a lot of exposition. Now granted, when you're making a world like this, exposition is necessary when it comes to the mystical arts, since a lot of people don't believe in that sort of thing, and when it comes to a world as bonkers as the one that Doctor Strange creates, it's ultimately necessary. But there's a huge amount of exposition dumps that make it feel like they're telling you about the world rather than actually showing it. But when they do actually show it, it is incredible. But like I said, they're minor inconveniences in what's otherwise an incredible adventure. Marvel has done it again. I give Doctor Strange a 9 out of 10, definitely see it in the theaters, and here's hoping that Doctor Strange is going to be the next Avenger to take down Thanos. See you next time.